In a crowded subway, a transit cop moves to shut down an older tamale vendor until a young line cook buys her entire cooler and moves her to a safer spot, making himself late and risking trouble at work. That costly kindness changes the mood of the station and quietly alters the cops' and commuters' choices that day. The cook's own money troubles and the vendor's clinic messages sit in the background, adding weight without stopping the soft shift. Before we get started, tap like, share, and subscribe to join the journey. And tell me, where in the world are you watching? Drop your country below. I love seeing the global trail of these stories. The station smelled like wet metal and old coffee. The turnstiles clicked. A tired hum came from the tracks like someone holding their breath. She parked her red rolling cooler by Pillar E. The cooler had peeling fruit stickers in a row like medals. She wore a blue cardigan and black sneakers. Her grey braid hung over her shoulder, a neat rope. She set out a hand-leaded sign that said, "Tamales $2," and pressed the tape flat. She counted the change in a little plastic box, lips moving without sound. Her knee cracked when she bent, and she rubbed it, and then she looked up and smiled at nobody. Commuters did that thing where eyes slide away. They squeezed past with coffee cups and tote bags and giant headphones. Someone read a sandwich wrapped in paper in one hand while scrolling with the other. A stroller wheel bumped the yellow strip and swerved. She said, "Buenos dias," and no one answered. That was fine. Most days went like that for the first hour. She kept her spot next to the pillar, and the vendor's keep clear sign taped to the tiled wall, like it was a joke that she let herself laugh at. Then a transit cop stopped. His boots squeaked. He had a reflective vest and a radio that hissed. He adjusted his belt and tilted his head like he was trying to see around her. "Ma'am," he said, careful and loud, as if speaking to the whole platform. "You can't set up here, not on the yellow line. You're blocking egress." He pointed at a laminated sheet clipped to his vest. The red lid popped when the board clipped it. A skateboard had glanced off her cooler as a teenager swerved in Too Hot. The cooler rocked forward, then back. The lid came loose and fell with a hollow clap. Inside, foil bundles clinked against each other like coins. A warm puff of corn and chili rose up. She made a small sound and dropped to her knees, hands moving fast. People stepped around her. Someone clicked their tongue. The cop bent, not to help, but to catch the lid with the toe of his boot. "Back up, ma'am," he said. "Also, do you have a permit?" His pen hung over the pad. A man in a grey hoodie and black kitchen clogs slowed. He had a short beard and a black backpack with a rolled white jacket strapped under it. He had that look of someone measuring time in minutes and burns. He shouldered closer through the small crowd, not pushing, just there, and then he crouched beside the cooler. He checked the time on his cracked phone. The screen had a spider of lines across the top corner and a picture of a kid on a scooter as a lock screen. The clock read 8:12. He had a pre-shift meeting at 8:30 that he could not miss. He had told himself that 3 times before he took the stairs down into the station. He lifted a foil bundle with 2 fingers and set it back in, careful, like it was a baby bird. He said, "How much for all of them?" His voice was soft, as if he didn't want to spook the steam. She looked up, eyes wet and surprised. Her mouth opened at a small O and closed again. He reached for his wallet and fumbled a receipt out with the cash. An old crumple of emails shoved into bills. He paid in cash, a soft stack. He counted quick, whispering numbers as he slid them free. 60, 80, 100, 20 more. He handed it to her. "For everything in the cooler," he said, "you keep the ones that touch the floor. Toss them if you have to." He didn't look at the cop. He didn't look at the impatient man in a suit with a Bluetooth blinking blue. He just kept gathering foil and tucking it tight. He spoke to the cop without heat. "I'm moving her off the line," he said. "Up the stairs, to the mezzanine." The cop opened his mouth. The man held up both hands. "I get it," he said. "She's in the way. I'll get her out of the way." He nodded like a short bow. The cop's radio crackled. The cop's eyes flicked to the stairs and back to the woman, kneeling and the cash in her palm. The pen hung there and didn't touch paper. He moved the cooler to the top of the stairs near daylight. The thing was heavier than it looked. It thumped each step little squeals from the plastic wheels. He took the handle with one hand and held the rail with the other. The woman followed, one hand on her knee, the other on the small plastic donation box that now held more green than coins. The cop climbed behind them a few steps and then stopped, like he was not sure if he was escorting or just watching. At the mezzanine, near a tiled wall with a mural of a blue river and painted fish, he parked the cooler. Signs overhead showed arrows there. he said. Stay clear of the gate. He checked the time again and felt his stomach tighten. People's faces changed with the smell. It spread out, little waves of corn and meat and cumin and something sweet. A woman with a stroller slowed and smiled. A kid tugged her sleeve and pointed at the hand-lettered sign. A guy in a hard hat patted his pockets and came up with 3 ones and a quarter. 2, he said. No salsa. I'm fragile today. The woman in the blue cardigan stood a little taller. Her hands shook less when she handed over change. The cop tucked his pen back into the clip and shifted his weight and pretended to read the permit sheet even though his eyes were somewhere else. He took the rest in the cooler and climbed out to the street. The air cut his face clean and bright. Buses roared. A gust lifted the corner of his hoodie. He slid the cooler by the wall outside the stairwell and pulled the handle up to its full click. He tightened the straps on his backpack. He could hear the voice of the head chef in his head. Where were you? We talked about timing. He set his jaw and started toward the restaurant, a block and a half away, the handle rattling on the cracks. On the sidewalk, his phone buzzed 3 times. Chief called. Chef again. Chef. He didn't answer. A text came in. Be here. Now. He typed back with his thumb. Bringing staff meal, 2 blocks. His bank app nudged him with a low balance warning like a bad joke. Rent was due on Friday. He had groceries to get for his mom on the weekend. He had meant to put that cash aside. He felt the pinch and breathed through it. He did not think about the envelope under his sink with 160 in it. He kept walking. Back on the platform, she wiped her hands on her blue cardigan. She picked up the ticket book the cop had left behind and handed it to him without a fuss. She checked her phone, a little one with a cracked back and a sticker of a saint. There was a voicemail from the clinic with a number she knew too well. She thumbed the screen, hovered, and then locked it. Not now. She put bills into the bottom of the plastic box and coins on top like always. She moved the hand-lettered sign a little to the left so more people could see it. Buenos dias, she said. And this time a woman with a stroller said it back. Later that day, the cop saw a kid with a crate of mango strips. The kid had a backpack and a look that said he was trying to be invisible. The cop squinted at the crate, at the knife tucked under a towel, at the slim stack of folded papers. You can't be on the stairs, he said softer than his voice that morning. That corner by the mural, that's where they won't bother you. Go get a permit if you're going to do this all the time. Office is on 12th. Tuesday, 9 to 3. He surprised himself when he said it. The kid nodded, like he'd been handed a map. On the mezzanine, the busker flipped his cardboard sign. He had written tips in thick marker, then crossed it out and wrote, if you need a song, it's free. He tuned his scuffed guitar, eyes on the strings, and started a small song that sounded like water in a cup. People slowed. A woman in scrubs leaned on the rail and closed her eyes for one chorus. He didn't count his case until he was back on his couch that night, and even then he just smiled at the crumpled dollar on top. Up on Broad Street, the tall man from the morning held a deli door. A kid with a sax case came huffing up, cheeks red, hat crooked. The man put his hand out and caught the door with a grace he hadn't used all week. The kid smiled and ducked in. The man stood there a second, hand on the glass, feeling the weight of a thing that didn't weigh much. He tossed his empty coffee cup in the right bin and didn't think about it twice. In the kitchen, steam rose when the cooler opened. The line hummed. A pot of stock burped. The head chef's arms were folded when the man in the grey hoodie rolled in late, sweat beading at his hairline. You're late, the chef said, eyes flat, voice like a pan set down. The man nodded. I brought staff meal, he said, and lifted out foil after foil. He did not explain. He didn't talk about the cop or the stairs or the cash. He set one open tamale on the pass for tasting. The chef took a bite, frowned, chewed, took another. Good massa, he said finally, like it hurt a little to admit. He looked up. The room had shifted the tiniest bit. The prep cook had stopped chopping and was watching from the onions. Someone in dish laughed at something that wasn't that funny. You can run late trail on pasta tonight, the chef said. Stay an extra hour. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't punishment. It was what it was. The man nodded, tied his apron on, and started to move. Later, on break, he sent a text to the number she slipped into his palm near the stairs. Thank you. If you want, we buy more on Fridays. He turned the phone face down on the metal table and listened to the hood pull air. He thought about heat and small mercies, about how steam finds gaps and slips through. He thought about his mother's tiny stove that always ran hot and how she'd crack a window in winter to keep the house from fogging up. He thought about the morning clicks of the turnstiles and all the little things people hold in their hands and won't say out loud. He didn't call it anything. He just knew the day had moved to make room for something he hadn't planned. At dusk, she unwrapped one last Tamale at the corner by the bodega. The sky over the elevated train was pink and bruised at the edges. She stood on her little milk crate to rest her knees and watched the street go home. Steam curled, thin and white, into the cold air. She held the warm weight in both hands and took a small bite. The light in the bodega wrote stripes on the sidewalk. The cooler sat close by her ankle, stickers soft at the corners. A bus sighed at the curb and pulled away, and the steam went on rising until it was gone.